to the Wednesday meditation. This evening, I'm going to do a chant with my daughter, but my daughter's not here. And I had this thought that there must be a CD where she's led a chant or something that I could sing harmony with her, because I love to sing harmony with her. And the first CD I picked up, I have a pile sitting on a dresser like that. I pick it up, and it has the date on it, and it's a Sunday, and it was actually at 8:30. I guess at one time we did 8:30, and I didn't have any idea if she was on it or not. And I started to listen to it, and she was all alone. So I must have been out away at some place. And it was just perfect. It was the first CD I picked up. It was like, okay, I'm supposed to do this tonight. And I love living like that, where it's a ballet. You have this ballet going on in life. You know, if it's right, those things happen. If you're not supposed to do something like that, it doesn't happen. And you just accept instead of getting upset when things don't go your way. It's just, it can be a ballet if you just let the miracles happen and accept it when it's not the time to do something like that. And I just want to say that if you would like to have a name called out at prayer time, you can put their name on a piece of paper, which is by this box, and put it inside. And when Jack is speaking, I will go and pick the prayer name up and put it on our list. And then it will be called when we do the calling out of the names. I'm going to be doing the summer solstice, and outside, hopefully, and it will be on the area before the garden. But I always like the people to walk the labyrinth first. And I'm always there, and we've got the drum going so that you can just have this incredible meditation walking to it. And then we start the coming together and doing different native chants and connecting to the earth mother. So everybody's invited. It is on a donation basis. I'll pass a basket at some point. And it just is a wonderful experience. And if the weather is bad, then we will bring it into Fellowship Hall. We did it one time where everybody got to walk the labyrinth, and then all of a sudden it started to sprinkle, and then it started to pour, and almost everybody got into the Fellowship Hall before the rain really got on them. So, you know, the labyrinth is really something you should walk and be part of, because it's so much part of unity and so much part of your growth to go through that walking meditation and have some kind of a meditation statement that you're making as you go. Okay, so we're going to start our chant.
Swirl and move in and through everything that our higher self is. Oh, my beloved. Oh, my beloved. Kindness of the heart.
Kindness of the heart.
Breath of all life.
Breath of life.
I bow to.
I bow to you.
Do that again.
Oh, my beloved. Oh, my beloved. Kindness of the heart. coming home, coming home, and I'm 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 coming home. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Breath of life, I bow to you. 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 Coming home, coming home, coming home. Coming home, coming home, coming home. Coming home, coming home to you. 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 Oh, my beloved. Oh, my beloved. Kindness of the heart. Kindness of the heart. Breath of a life, breath of a life, I bow to you, I bow to you, and I'm coming home, and I'm coming home, and I'm coming home, and I'm coming home, and Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo.
Good evening, everyone. On Sunday, last Sunday, we considered the bare bone facts about suffering in the world. I shared the mythical story. It may be mythical, it might be absolutely true, about the Buddha, Gautama Buddha, whose life was the initiating life of all the Buddhist sects today. Gautama Buddha was a child born to a king who had a fabulous palace and fabulous palace grounds. And it was the king's desire to allow his young son to enjoy his life as much as he possibly could without ever being involved with the limitations and suffering of the world. He wanted him to grow up the way children will grow up, enjoying the moment, living the moment, being spontaneous, fearless, free, unconcerned. Well, so what he did is he set it up so that even the people around young Buddha were always certain to have to be young, vital, healthy people. But as the Buddha reached a certain age, in his teens, he decided he wanted to see the world outside the palace. And he conspired with a guard that was and had become his personal friend to take him out there. And so the guard and he left the palace grounds and went out into the world. And it was at that time that the Buddha saw the suffering of people. He saw the sicknesses that people had, the poverty, the decrepitude of old age, the pain, the suffering, the conflict that took place in the lives of people. And it changed his consciousness. He was no longer willing to just live in the luxury of his palace and grow up as a prince. He went and got a begging bowl and became a sadhu. A sadhu is a seeker of the truth. And so he traveled seeking the truth and begging his meager meals every day. And then after years of that, seeking to understand how life actually works, seeking to understand how to somehow transcend the suffering that's built into life. But after years of his searching and listening to different seeming teachers, he sat down one day beneath the Bodhi tree, determined not to stand or get up again until he knew the truth about life. And it's there that he became enlightened. And that enlightenment revealed to him that it was the attachment, the personal attachment and pleasures of the material world that were the underlying cause of human suffering. And he's talking about mostly unnecessary suffering. There is suffering in the world, but most of the suffering that humans experience is useless, unnecessary suffering, based upon a limited definition of life that we are born into. When people talk about the original sin, those that do talk about the original sin hardly understand what it is. It is the illusionary idea that I am just a separate physical body in a world of separate physical phenomena that doesn't necessarily have any regard for my well-being, my happiness, my peace. So we grow up in that and we become fear-motivated human beings. And you'll just notice, if you get the chance, and I hope you don't have too many chances, to watch the commercials on television. You'll see how they're all set up in such a way as to create a fear in the people watching, because we are motivated by fear. And we have other smaller motivations. We're motivated by lust and the physical pleasures of the world. But so much of what goes on in our experience is fear-based. And it has to do with our attachment to a false definition of life. We are not apprised of the fact that we are spiritual beings. We must accept the definition the world gives us of being strictly physical beings who only go around once. And that particular definition of life is flawed. And so say all the masters of life. So say the teachers and the sages. It is flawed. And so the Buddha understood that the very mind-held vision, definition of life had to be transcended. And then possibly we could find a peace, a joy, a love of living that would not be fear-based, fear-motivated, and it would do away with 95% of the suffering, which is useless, fear-driven, fear-based, conflict, suffering in the world. Now, the idea that our personal treasures and possessions are at the root of our problem, that keep us from ever finding freedom and happiness, that idea is an anathema to the Western culture, the Western consciousness, America. In America, we are taught, raised, fashioned, educated to pursue the treasures and pleasures of the personal physical life. And I suspect that's okay, it's accepted. The masters understood it as being accepted. But they also understood that it was only like the seed that had to somehow or other be broken so that the true self could actually come through. The spiritual soul self could come through and allow itself to be expressed in life. It's very much like the acorn has to be nurtured, placed in the ground, nurtured so that it can break through the initial shell and rise to become the great oak tree that it is. So human beings, as the Buddha and as the masters down through the ages understand us, have to go through a transformation in awareness. Now, A Course in Miracles speaks to this, not so much as a path in which we have to give up this attachment to material life. It presents it more along the lines of slowly substituting spiritual joy, insight, love, and peace that comes from our etheric soul nature at the core of our being, to substitute the joy that comes when the mind is steeped in that. The love, the peace, the insight, the beauty, the freedom. That slowly replaces the desires for pleasure, possessions, control over life in the outer directed world. Course in Miracles explains that's a transformative process. It's very rare when anything like that happens overnight. It's a transformation that takes place in life. And it sometimes occurs, and most often occurs, when we reach an impasse of suffering, when we reach a place of complete disillusionment with life in the world and our attempts to live it according to the way we've been conditioned to believe it. When we realize we're not happy, this happens quite a bit. You see people that are living high-powered lives, making big money, having the 3-martini lunch and the wine and the big celebrations during the week, but their work is all that they have to live for, and succeeding in their work and gaining those promotions and getting ahead in those respects to fulfill the erroneous definition of success that they were handed. They sometimes reach that place and say, what am I doing? I really don't enjoy a moment of life. Some of them who have children don't even have any feeling or relationship to what their children are doing or getting into. They've never seen the beauty of the real tree. They've never seen the beauty of the real dog. There are people that have dogs that don't deserve to have dogs, because they don't see the beauty of the dog. They don't see it as a living, beautiful thing that blesses their life so beautifully, because no matter what you do and how you abuse that dog will always love you, greet you at the door, and make you feel like you're really a good person, when really, if you're abusing that dog, you should never have been greeted that way. And many people, even in unity, have never seen the real dog. They don't see the real trees. They don't smell the real flowers. They don't have life. They're not present enough to have life, true life. They're not exhilarated by the majesty and the beauty of life in its simplicity and its glory. And so they go on trudging along. Some of them have the idea that when I retire, then I'm going to live. Some of them have the idea if I only make enough money. Some have the idea if I only find the right person to be my partner. Some people think of this or that, or when I get that house, I'll be free. You don't realize that everything that you possesses you. Whatever you have requires your attention. Now, you may ignore a dog to the degree of really abusing it. There are people that have dogs in New York City. Dogs that have been left in their apartment all day long, day and night. They take them out maybe for a few minutes to walk them and put them back in the apartment. They don't even relate to them at all. Did you know this? You may not have known this. This is going to bother you. There are many dogs that have leaped through their windows to their death because the human element can become so isolated in the illusionary definition of self that it becomes a problem for itself and everything around it. So we're not called upon to give up our possessions or even our pleasures as it is, but to slowly assimilate the spiritual beauty and joy of the awareness divine that exists at the core of our being. For we are truly spiritual beings going through a human experience. Now this is spoken up eloquently in what is, one of the favorite stories. There was this king who was very despondent. Although he had quite a bit of wealth, he could never be happy. He was always anxious, always worried, could never really eat right and feel good or sleep. And he was despondent. And so he asked his wise men if there was anything, any way they could help him. He had seen all the doctors and all the soothsayers and all the astrologers, but one particular court wise man said to him, "There is a man that lives in the woods outside your palace, and everyone speaks of him as being the happiest person alive. Why don't you go to find him, and maybe he can help you?" So the king set out on his horse to find the happiest person alive. And eventually he did. He found this man who was naked, who was whistling a beautiful tune, and he could hear the birds singing in harmony to the whistling of this man, who was gardening his small garden outside his tiny hut. And he went to the naked man and said, "You look so peaceful, so happy. Can you help me find that kind of peace and happiness?" And the man said, "Yes, I can, but you would have to do everything I tell you to do." And so the king said, "I'm at your beck and call. Whatever it is you want, I will do." And so the naked master said, "To begin with, you can give me your cloak, and you can get off your horse. I will ride your horse back to the palace, where I will live and train you." And so he rode back, and the king walked beside the horse all the way back to the palace. And back at the palace, the naked master went about being clothed by the tailor, the king's own tailor, beautiful garments. He went about eating the finest food by the king's cooks and servants. He went about partaking of the king's harem, sometimes 2 in a row. You can tell the story any way you want. And always the king had his every other day lesson for 60 minutes. For 60 minutes, the naked master, who was no longer naked, but living lavishly, would show up and, teach the king about non-attachment, teach him meditation, teach him spiritual truths that were there at the time of Buddha. And the king watched all this, but all he got every other day was this 60-minute lesson. Meanwhile, the naked master was living this lavish life, sumptuous food, wonderful women, had the best seats in court, the best seats at the festivals, everything the king made sure he got. After months of this, though, the king became disgruntled and called him into his chambers and said, "Look, you are eating the best food possible because it's the same food I eat. You are wearing the best clothes because it's the same clothes my tailor makes for me. And you are partaking of my harem, and you are partaking of the best seats at the festivals. In fact, what's the difference between you and me?" And the master looked at him and said, "The difference is I can live happily without all this." and you still can't. At that point, the naked master removed his cloak and went back outside the palace, back to his garden and his hut in the woods. It's a state of mind. Non-attachment is a state of mind. You become so enamored with the spiritual presence that you no longer have the strong desires to try to make the physical life work to suit you. You're willing to be present in the moment and to become appropriate in the moment, what the moment requires. And sometimes it doesn't just require seeing the beautiful real tree or dog or children playing in the playground. Sometimes it requires a service. Somebody needs something. There's a problem. You're there. You could add some help because you're willing to be there. There's no interruptions anymore because you are a God-conscious person. You have become so filled with the joy of the presence of God that there's no longer your separate personal life up there in front of you so powerfully that you can't let it go. You can't even for a moment be interrupted without becoming upset. Do you believe it possible to master life? Because I can tell you the New Age begins with the whole idea of mind over matter. You're going to set your intentions and you're going to get the world to bring to you what's going to fulfill your personal desires, your dictates, your demands, and that's going to make you happy. It never will. All you have to do is look at some of the people that had everything that the world could give them. Everything. There are movie stars that could get up in the morning and decide they're going to take their private jet to France and eat breakfast there, and maybe find a French waitress to spend the day with. And these same people have wound up in drug rehabilitation centers. Some of them have committed suicide, who had everything. Why? Because to have everything is to have God. God is everything. So I'm going to give you a couple of quotes from Eckhart Tolle, because this is the best way to find your way into the now moment. Do you know that Eckhart Tolle said, such a cogent statement, the only real success in this world is a successful now moment. Can you imagine that? Getting to the place where you could live in a now moment. You can do it periodically. Look at this. I'm freeing myself from the obligations of my own mind, saying, you have plenty of things you have to catch up on. You have to get these things done before you can rest or relax. But no, I've let it go. Look at what I'm doing. I'm just being here. I'm in the moment. It's okay. I'm okay with myself. He also had this to say, as we go about our illusion, one day I'll make it. And he goes on to say, is your goal taking up so much of your attention that you reduce the present moment to a means to an end? Is it taking the joy out of your doing? Are you waiting to start living? If you develop such a mind pattern, no matter what you achieve or get, the present will never be good enough. The future will always seem better. A perfect recipe for permanent dissatisfaction and non-fulfillment. Don't you agree? Always chasing the future, try to make it better. He'll go on to say something else. I'll conclude with this. Are you worried? Do you have many what-if thoughts? You are identified with your mind, which is projecting itself into an imaginary future situation and creating fear. There is no way that you can cope with such a situation because it doesn't exist. It's a mental phantom. You can stop this health and life corroding insanity simply by acknowledging the present moment. Become aware of your breathing. Feel the air flowing in and out of your body. Feel your inner energy field. All that you ever have to deal with, cope with in real life, as opposed to imaginary mind projections, is this moment. Ask yourself what problem you have right now. Not next year, not tomorrow, not 5 minutes from now. What is wrong with this moment? You can always cope with the now, but you can never cope with the future, nor do you have to. The answer, the strength, the right action, or the resource will be there when you need it, not before, not after. Here's a testimony. This is a mastery testimony. Whatever you need, if you are becoming God conscious, will be provided not before, not after, but upon the moment that it is needed. It's a completely different paradigm, a completely different way to live. But to get there requires spiritual practice. And you have to open yourself up to allow this intelligence to move in your consciousness, in your life, and free you from your self-imposed demands. The mind is making demands. If you do this and get that, oh boy, you're going to be okay. And so you say, no, not today, not now. I'm going to be okay just as I am. Take that affirmation. I'm okay just as I am, wherever I am. Wow, that's a good one. You should put a double offering in tonight for that. I'm okay as I am, wherever I am. All right, so we're going to practice the meditation together, beginning with our beautiful crystal bowl, allowing the tone of it. Just listen to the tone of it, the real crystal bowl. You'll recognize that your thoughts may be taking you elsewhere, taking you to that vacation you want to get to next week, taking you to that family visiting or that party you're going to have. But just let that all go. Don't try to stop your thoughts. Just allow them to flow away like some distant, unnecessary, uninteresting noise. And bring yourself here and be okay with just sitting here, listening to this bowl and being okay just as you are. And so we'll use this when we get to the silence. You can use this truth. I am here now, honest with God. And I am okay. I am here now, honest with God. And I am okay. In this refined state of consciousness, let us offer this healing awareness to those whose names have been submitted to our prayer list. As Norma calls the name, just let the thought go to that name. We are one. We are one.
Ryan Jordan, Steve Jordan, a new 7-Eleven owner, Kara Aviva Wertheimer, Pam Jolly, Jamie Bilyeu, Larry Hickey, Sue Hickey, Tim, Dan, Lori, Chris, Linda A. Kuhn, Matt and family, Pedro Silva and family, Dennis Drake's family, Tricia Vietz and family, Dale Smith Barney, Raymond Young, Shelley W., Nicole and Gio Williams, Tracy McIntyre, Amber and Kenna, Kaylee, Roth, Vanilla, Frank Verdi, Betty Barford, Bob Malone, Daniel Rivard, Steve Taylor, Sandy Spahn, Judy Coleman, Margot, Ruth, David, Robin Harris, Sandra Perko, Ian Gibbs, Mira Morrison, Lee and Dell, Vi, Jan DeVille, David Wow, Fatu, Robin Harris, Poppy, Jess, our United States government, the earth, water, air, all life on planet Earth. If you'd like to call out a name at this time, you can do so. See this healing light surrounding the prayer box and all the people whose names have been submitted throughout the month. We see them healed, physically, mentally, and spiritually.
Let us take a moment to visualize this divine consciousness coming into expression in the consciousness of everyone sharing this Boulder community with us. and this new vision and definition of life, opening in the consciousness of everyone sharing this Colorado state, and this new vision and definition of life coming forth in expression in everyone sharing these United States of America with us. And this new vision and definition of life being expressed through everyone, every human being upon this planet. And this new definition of life restoring harmony and peace, truth, justice, integrity, democracy, compassion. As we pray, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. And God is love. To this we say, Amen. 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 We will take an offering for unity now. We do it in the fashion of our COVID restrictions. There is a basket in the lobby if you want to leave a physical offering, a check. There's also some dip jars for a credit card. If you want to dip your credit card, you can donate to Unity of Boulder. Those of you online, if you have a particular tag that you can hit, you can donate that way, or just tune in to unityofboulder.com and see the many different ways that you can donate. And so let us bring that financial gift to mind that we want to donate to Unity of Boulder. And let's bless it with this affirmative prayer. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, all that I receive, because I give. And so it is.
Help me see beauty in and all around me. Guide my thoughts, choose my words to reflect love. This I pray. Help me see beauty in and all around me. Guide my thoughts, choose my words to reflect love. This I pray. This I pray. This I pray.
Good night to all of you. Thank you for tuning in wherever you are. We invite you to join us in the physical. Our church sanctuary is the most purified sanctuary you can find. You know, we use these EG lights in here before we have any services that purify the atmosphere. So if you want to, you can still wear a mask if you decide. You can still keep social distancing. But we'd love to have you join us. Join us on Sunday when I'll be speaking at the 9 a.m. service, and Santisha will be speaking at the 11 o'clock service. To everyone, good night.